Okay, so I've mentioned before about how when the dots start to connect together, especially when I'm not forcing it, when I just let it happen, it all just kind of starts pulling bits and pieces from all over the span of time in my memory, right? Pulls it all together, puts it in line, and then it's like, as it's putting it in line, and I mean, this literally happens so fast I can't even express it, okay? But as it's lining up, I'm following it, right? So, I'm going to tell y'all a story. It's not fake, it's the truth. My son was about 5 years old. And the relationship that I was in, the guy was mistreating him. He was making him scared to go to the bathroom, which was through our bedroom. I worked overnights. It was before I moved from Wynnewood, Oklahoma to Tulsa. It's the reason I moved to Tulsa. Anyway, I come home from working overnights at Love's. It's a gas station in Oklahoma. And my son says, "Mama, please don't get mad at me." In the living room, we made his bedroom because it was just a one-bedroom efficiency apartment, Uh, it's like a duplex, two-floor duplex, which is ironically where they found him dead. Anyway, not my son. Don't freak out. Not my son. It's a guy. God rest his soul. His name was Joseph Richard Martinez. Anyway, he says, "Mama, please don't be mad at me. I've been throwing trash from my food underneath the mattress in the pop-out bed." So it was basically under the couch. He said, "I don't want Rick to know, because if he knows, then he's going to get mad and he's going to yell at me." And that's what are you talking about? Well, Rick had been doing dope. I had quit well before that, right? I wouldn't do it around my son ever, and it got to where I had my son all the time. I always had him. But I mean, they hadn't yet started insisting that they spend so much time with him and actually spend the time with him. The only time they would do it was to undermine me. So, like, if he got grounded, which I'm a very serious person, if I say something, I mean that. Clock me on it. I got receipts. Way back. Okay? Anyway, I made my son, after Rick went to work, I made my son come in the room, lay down with me, and tell me what was going on. I wouldn't go to sleep. I was exhausted, but I wouldn't go to sleep. And as he's telling me this, I'm enraged and just so heartbroken at the same time, because I was that kid. I was that kid that was beat. I was that kid that had all the responsibility put on me. I was a kid that had to keep it all to myself. And I'm so proud of my son for not keeping it all to himself. And it's not his fault that all this happened. And how dare you say it is, because I know y'all have tried to tell him that. Shame on you. It was your faults. Not his and not mine. But I called his therapist. And my thing said flashlight. Flashlight not available, 333 on the clock. Anyway, so I called his therapist and I got everything set up. And I told his therapist what was going on, and then I called his father while he was at therapy, and I told his father what was going on, and I talked to him about what we were going to do. I was going to have him keep him for a little while so I could get everything packed and get all my vehicles and everything. Like, I called in a favor, which anybody that knows me never knows I never do. Look at this, the cat's climbing up on my arm because she senses that, or he senses that I'm upset. But I'm not that kind of upset. Anyway, I sacrificed my son for God. I say that like that because that's what it was. They were determined to take him from me anyway. They were determined to do everything they could to hurt me. They thought they were better than me. So when I had told my son's grandmother, who ended up raising him while I was still pregnant, "Look, Gayla, don't worry." Gayla Jennings, by the way. "Look, Gayla, don't worry. You're not going to have to raise this grandson like you did the other one and miss out on being a grandma." Real talk. She took that as a threat, and she took my son, had her family help, all behind I didn't have any money or any family. during this time, I had moved from Wynnewood to Tulsa. It took about 2 years for them to get full custody of him from me. Real talk. By the time that had happened, I had just made partner for Taco Bueno in Oklahoma. I was like, see, Aiden would have been, I was like 28. Yeah, 28, and I owned half of all the Taco Buenos in Oklahoma. Working ass motherfucker. And still had time for my family, still had time to drive him to them because they wouldn't come to me. I made sure that he went once a week during the off week for at least a day or two. He went every other weekend. I did all the driving. I did everything. And I worked. And I raised and bred sugar gliders. I tried to have a life. I tried to do it cookie cutter by the book. As a matter of fact, I did do it a couple times over. To the degree that the judge said I was the epitome of the perfect mother. That every single decision that I had ever made, and this is on record, my mom paid $800 for it, didn't you, Kimberly Ann? Not very smart of you. You should have just believed me. You didn't raise me to be a liar. You taught me not to be a liar. I learned from you being a liar. For shame. Anyway. I didn't lose my mind. And they wanted me to. I kept trying to do what I could. I was pushing my way through it because if my son didn't have me to rely on, who was he going to have? Now, please note, at this time, his father and I had been in a fist fight that was so bad, I let him beat me to death. Full reverse Nelson suplex, slowly. I knew I was dying. I knew it. I remember the last thought that I had as everything went black was, so this is the motherfucker responsible for how my kid's going to turn out? Oh, ha! And that was it. Beep. There was no flatline, by the way. I was not hooked up to nothing. We were in our living room in a cabin outside of, was it Turner Falls? Just right there in Turner Falls even? Turner Falls. Yeah. I came to about an hour later throwing my hands up doing the same thing. For a full reverse Nelson suplex. I ain't even playing. I had them up. I was about to just drop back and be done with it. I remember that feeling. I remember coming to and throwing my hands up. Both my hands at the same time. I'm not dropping the phone. I'm not dumb. I don't want to wear that on my soul was the first thing I heard. And then I was aware of what was going on. So I fought my way back from death for my kid. Yeah. I sure could and I sure would. The Bible says that Jesus has the keys to death and Hades. Even if he didn't, I'd come back with him, and that's a guarantee. But neither here nor there. Stop. Not on my red pants, man. Come on. Anyway. Everybody wants my attention when I'm trying to pay attention to something I need to let go of. Enough. Non battaglia tra l'intosciano la Carmen de Visciania. Stop it. Anyway. So, I didn't lose my mind. I didn't let them win. I said enough. Don't make me be mean. I don't like that. Firm is mean. It's not mean. It's necessary. Children. Anyway. Now, they took my condo. The people that lived next door to me died. And nobody knew about it. So the bed bugs that come to eat flesh, they're a sign of death. Okay, people, give it the program. Come into my condo. Prime real estate. 71st Memorial in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Look that up. That shit's expensive. And I had a killer deal because I had a good friend, I thought. Anyway. Then my dude, at the time, I come home from work one day and find pictures popping up on the tablet because I'm sitting there playing Smule Magic Piano, jamming it out. And as he comes home, it hits our Wi-Fi and everything starts uploading, and I see pictures of what he was doing that day before, when he was supposed to be watching my kid, before he showed up at my job with a longtime friend of ours. Oh, I'm talking about Jackson Buchanan Fondren. Yeah. Terrible monster. I've had a lot of those, haven't I? Anyway. He was cheating on me while he was supposed to be watching my son come up to my job and got the last money I had off of me and free food for everybody, and made up some bullshit about how she was destitute and she'd gotten in a fight with her dude and her and the baby got kicked out and he was just spending the day with her until she could go back home or some other bullshit. And I waited for a week. And I gathered all the proof and everything and composed myself and decided how I was going to handle it. I gotta say, I'm very proud of myself. I'm glad I decided to do it that way. It taught me a lot about me, and I've never stopped being that way since. Patience. Cold, calculated patience. 11:22. Anyway. He still denied. Even with all the proof. Even the girl sitting there at 11:33. Even though the girl was sitting there, I'm so sorry, Elizabeth, I'm so sorry. To his face, telling him, yeah, I told her the truth. Okay, then he calls me from California in some other man's bed. 11:44. Okay, still didn't break me. So then they steal my car. Pack full of drugs. Still didn't break me. I was good friends with some very high up people. So when I called him and told him, look, I'm not going to be able to make it to the family function. I'm so very sorry. And it was actually for me, 12/12, 12/13. Wow, that's... And it was for me. Go away, please. Thank you. They said, don't worry about it. They handled it. They did. Praise the Lord. I knew I could count on them. 1, 2, 3. Anyway, so I started doing drugs again. Because I didn't have nowhere to go, no one to hang out with. And I thought, well, man, everybody else uses it to cover their sorrow and their pain. Maybe I can use it at least just to get through the fact that I don't feel any like they want me to. That all I feel is a fire and a drive and a need to keep going. I guess it did that. Sure. No, what ended up happening is that really, really bad stuff was happening to me. And the only person that was a real friend and wasn't trying to hurt me or kill me and wouldn't let other things happen to me was my friend Desmond. I love you, Des. Wherever you are in the world, I owe you my life and I love you. And your mama too. 1331 on the clock. Check this out. The guy that I was dating at the time, Des and his mom let me and him move in so that I'd have a place to live, and she knew that I wouldn't go if the other person wasn't with me because the other person didn't have a place to live and I have too big of a heart. She did too, God rest her soul. She was an amazing woman and I got mad love for her. I favor her so much. She had MS and was suffering real bad. It was right at the tail end of the fight. And she put up with all that and was still so good, still so amazing. I remember Des found me in the bathroom floor one day, locked in there, can't figure out how, without my pants on. I mean, it was all kinds of fucked up. It wasn't like I just fell unconscious. It was like I had bruises on me in places that there was no reason unless somebody did that to me. But I didn't remember anything. At all. Couldn't figure it out. Anyway. That person ended up breaking my heart so bad. And the whole thing of everything that he did to me because Paul Joseph Capel, who admitted to me, I don't care if he ever does again, had fueled every bit of the torment, degradation, and sexual abuse that I went through. And that was just the beginning. That was just one of the monsters yet again. I probably created that one. On a different note, I didn't know my power then. I'm careful with my words now. Yeah, surgically. But I sat in my car, in the passenger side seat of my car in Catoosa, Oklahoma, and let him take a torch and light the torch this far from my face and melt my face, and I just sat there. And then I turned and I looked at him. I said, that's enough. That'll be the last time. Get out of my car. Get away from me. I'd advise you not ever come in my presence again. I feel like I zoned out or something. I know I said some other shit. I know it wasn't me, it was God, but I didn't know at the time what was going on. I remember breaking down when he got out of the car and when he got out of the car, I locked it. And I took the keys out of the steering wheel and I threw them into the back of the car, which I kept my car clean. I keep everything clean. I'm an OCD clean freak. Cleanliness is next to godliness, and that's real shit. But I broke down and I gave up. And I said, okay, fine, whatever, fuck it. I give up. Whatever in the universe wants me, come get me, my power, everything that I am, whatever, I don't care. Whatever's the biggest, baddest motherfucker, come get it. Like King of the Mountain, come get it. And I meant it. I meant it, every bit of it. I didn't care anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. Everything. Everything that I had ever done, I had done exactly right. Exactly like we were told to. And then I added into that what my mother didn't know. Is that I had been going to church. I had been reading the Bible. I had been studying. I had been talking to God. I had been doing all of this. She didn't want me to. Now I know why. Point in all this. So, full circle. Here we go. I sacrificed myself, my life. I felt myself being pulled out of my body and floating right here. I was still able to operate, do whatever, but I was not. I was like right here. I wasn't able to do anything my own control. Of course not. And I felt something holding me, but holding me in place. It wouldn't let me leave. It wouldn't let me detach. It was like, no, hold on. And then I hear, be still, forebearer. It's me. We're going to do a new thing. I don't know if you could hear that. I heard, be still, forebearer. It's me. We're going to do a new thing. That was God. I felt it. I knew it. I recognized it as that energy I'd felt in my first vision when I was 3. The one I'd been talking to the whole time. I'm so grateful he came for me. Because not a fucking one of y'all will. Not yet. One day the world will be better, though. And I'll be able to say that we all would. All to the glory of the Holy Lord God Almighty. You watch. Or don't. Get out of the universe if you don't. I mean that. Put your ass on a spaceship and get the fuck out. Because I'm giving God what he wants. Point is, I'm not just an ordinary person. You're right, I'm not. I did the same thing Jesus did. But I sacrificed it all for God. Not for everybody else. But for him. For Yahweh. I let him take control of my vessel. I let him walk in my vessel of my own full understanding, knowing, and volition so that he could have his chance, so he could do what he could do. Confirmation. And nothing popped up on my screen. Wow. And that's what it's been ever since. I've always known. I just didn't know to the degree of putting the dots together like that, who I am and why. There's stories told about a little girl that was hidden in the folds of God's garments in heaven, whose name's not allowed to be spoken. Elizabeth Diana.